All right, so the following is the presentation that I actually gave for the Peace and Justice League of Spokane Steering Committee. And I'm going to share screen now. And I'm going to show you essentially this overview. It's the platform for change, what it is, and what's in it. So real quick overview, when we say platform for change, we're referring to a document, a process, and a coalition. This was initiated by Spokane Community Against Racism in June of 2020, while the George Floyd uprising was peaking in Spokane. The document is a collection of policy goals to proactively build community safety and wellness in Spokane. It's being written through a process of collaborative writing by volunteers and organizational staff, town halls for various groups that are disproportionately impacted by a criminal legal system here in Spokane, story gathering from people with lived experiences that they may not share in the previous two spaces, and public feedback opportunities such as surveys, online comment, and other resources that we create or opportunities that we create. The organizations and individuals who participate in the process for the Platform for Change form the Platform for Change Coalition. And Pajals is a member. And I'm seeing a couple typos in here, so we're gonna have to edit this guy. So someone might ask, why is this being written? What was the driver impetus for this? Well, it's being written to answer the question of why my computer keeps skipping slides. How do we build community safety and wellness in Spokane County? From the very beginning, the first version of this document grew from essentially a problem statement that Spokane County's criminal legal system is systemically racist, that our punitive approach to public safety doesn't work. This approach, it doesn't heal or restore communities, it doesn't provide healing to wronged individuals, and it provides punishment instead of accountability, which are two different things that we often get mixed up in our society, but to our collective detriment. Based on this problem statement, the thesis of the platform is that our community needs change in the form of a robust and diversified, community-centered, and integrated public safety network. And we can dig into what all those various words mean for a sec. We talk about a robust system. We want to be strong, to have as many essentially structures as possible needed to get the job done and catch things that would otherwise fall through the cracks. Diversified, meaning that its approach is looking at all the various ways that we might help create safety, whether it be through the way that the programs are provided by the government or the support of programs that exist from community, things that help families and individuals and people with different needs throughout the community. All of those resources should be a part of it. And it needs to be community-centered, right? Created by and for community, either through their given consent to government, or because community sometimes creates things on its own that are awesome, that we should just support in our community, that make our space, our homes better and integrated. This means that all of it needs to talk to itself, right? How many times have we heard the story of someone who had a health problem, for example, and they've got their general healthcare provider and a specialist that they're talking to, and there's a nurse at the ER, and none of these people know what's going on with this person in full because they all have different pieces of the problem. We imagine a public safety network where the different parts of it talk to one another to help create the best outcomes for our community members. So what does it say? The standing version of the Platform for Change is available on the SCAR website. But the version that's currently in process, the one that we're currently writing, has three main sections: police accountability, investment in community, and transform the criminal legal system. Each section has chapters, and right now the police accountability section has three main chapters. One on transparency, which covers civilian oversight, independent investigation structures. One on accountability, which covers police discipline and decertification. That is the process by which someone can have their certification to be a peace officer in the state of Washington revoked or suspended. And one of those chapters handles culture, right? So what are our hiring practices? What are we training these officers to do? Are we investing in their mental health in a job that we all recognize is extraordinarily stressful for a variety of reasons? And demilitarization in function and appearance. So not only do we not want our police to have the military equipment military grade equipment, we don't want them to have the civilian knockoff of that equipment anywhere either. They should neither have nor look like they have equipment that belongs, in a war zone. The section Invest in Community has a lot more chapters. Our early childhood intervention and public school and enrichment sections are currently in process with members of SCOUT board, people who work in education, people with expertise in childhood development. Right now, we have the section on homelessness being worked on by a service provider in that area, someone who actually is deeply involved in the work at Camp Hope, who's writing what we think should happen there. We have 3 people who work in tenants' rights and smart development, attacking the bit on tenant protections and housing stability from various angles. And we're still looking for chapter coordinators, people who can help coordinate the writing of the rest of these. This is the list as it currently exists, but it may change. For example, I gave this presentation recently and had someone say, how are the needs of immigrants and refugee communities being integrated into this? And I said, you know what, that's a really good question. We should get coffee and make sure that we're not letting whole pieces of our community just slip through the cracks of the vision. The 3rd section, transform the criminal legal system. We've got some really nice sentences here. We want to end cash bail. We want to end policies that criminalize poverty, homelessness, and addiction. We want to end harsh, disproportionate sentencing. We want to divest from the prison industrial complex. It ties in with the No New Jail campaign and the campaigns that have existed in Spokane for over a decade now to push back and fight against the expansion of our carceral system here in Spokane. We want to expand restorative justice practices, reform pretrial procedure, fund public defenders, and release sentencing data that's disaggregated by judge and defendant's demographic info. Now, I recently had a judge actually look at this section. Here's an example of how community feedback really shapes how this work goes forward, really is the work. Was talking with a judge in consultation, seeing if they could get involved in the writing and review of this section. And he pointed out that the civil side of things is being almost completely neglected, that this was all criminal, it seemed like. And that the civil procedure side of things that can also often have a huge impact on people's lives, and where we also see a lot of disproportionality in terms of race and income, isn't being explicitly named. And so that's one way in which this section is actually going to change to better reflect that need. And that's part of why we make sure that this is truly a whole community endeavor, which means that we've got systems people involved, service providers involved, people with lived experiences, and just everyone who has both a stake in the game and the ability to invest in this. And we hope that includes you too. So let's look at where we're at now. We're engaged in a cycle, essentially, and this graphic is a little bit outdated. So I'm going to talk you through some of it. But essentially, every section that you've seen and every chapter they're in goes through the process of primary drafting. We're in, whoops, because my battery's running low. Wherein we throw ideas at the wall, right? We throw every report that we have, every survey data point that's already been gathered of best practices, all of that just gets put on the wall in one place so we can really look at it. That's primary drafting. The commenting process is where a lot of the discussion takes place, where people engage in the process of shaping this into the community vision based on the best data available and the lived experiences of the people impacted, or they do that as much as possible. We really dig in. Next, we have the reviewing process, wherein people who maybe weren't involved in the commenting process, but who have a particular perspective we want to make sure has been adequately accounted for, take a look at it. I have one person who's agreed to look at the whole sections, review them with a disability lens. While we have disabled people who are involved in the writing of this, at different parts of this, we want to make sure that the whole thing cohesively adheres together. And so they're going to look at this and say, oh, you know what, for the disability community, you're missing this huge point of community safety and wellness for us. So we've got some people looking at things with lenses like that. And then we release it. And by release it, I mean, we make it available to the community, the broader community outside of sort of those who've already engaged in the writing process in these previous processes, to see it, comment on it, respond to it. through channels that are created by STAR and the various coalition partners in the Platform for Change. Essentially going back to the memberships at large and saying, hey, what do you think of this thing that we're a part of? And then there's a fifth little pie piece that isn't here yet that says mobilize. Because what we have been doing for the last 3 years isn't just writing, but mobilizing around the policies that we want to see, and specifically around that thesis and the things that support that thesis. So we've been doing work the last 3 years, whether it be responding to police contracts, responding to the behavior of our police chief, responding to the ballot measure for our new jail, or responding to the process of creating our Office of Civil Rights, Equity, and Inclusion, right? All of these things, that mobilization is about supporting this overall vision. And so that piece of mobilization goes here between releasing and drafting. It also goes around the outside of this whole thing. And in the center, if this graphic were updated, I would have a circle that says collaboration, because this is a collaborative community project first and foremost. And that is my overview. Thank you.